Think about this for a moment. How many times have you seen someone buy an Apple Watch, get super motivated, and then just completely stop using it after a few weeks? I know from personal experience. I see my dad, aunt, uncles, cousins, literally everyone around me get super excited when they buy an Apple Watch. At first, they're checking their steps every day, their calories burned, their sleep, all that stuff. But then after a few weeks or months, I noticed something. Half of them aren't even wearing it anymore. The battery dies once, then they completely forget to charge it again. Next, it sits on chargers for weeks, and eventually it just ends up somewhere in a drawer. And when I think about it, they never really even used the smartwatch features. They never needed phone calls, they never used apps, they never look at text through their watch, and they never even used the workout tracking feature. Which got me wondering, do normal people even want a smartwatch? Or do they just want a health tracker? Because if it's the second one, then spending $400 on an Apple Watch really does not make any sense. So when Google came out with the Fitbit Air, a screenless $99 tracker, I had to check it out. And to give you some context, I'm probably the complete opposite of an average user. I do marathon training, I play tennis, I go to the gym, and I'm pretty much addicted to health tracking. So I wore both on my wrist for 2 weeks for normal school days, walks, runs, lifting, tennis, and even on a marathon. And honestly, I thought the Apple Watch was just gonna completely destroy the Fitbit. But after looking throughout all the data, the answer ended up being a lot more complicated than I expected. But before I even get into the data, the biggest difference was not the steps, sleeping, or workouts. It was the battery life. Wait, hold on, there's our airplane. Give it a moment. The Fitbit Air is rated around 7 days, but in my use, it actually lasted a little bit longer, at 8 days before I had to even charge it. And even though this may sound kind of boring, I think this is one of the biggest difference between these two watches and why it makes more sense for most people. Because with my Apple Watch or just any smartwatch in general, you basically have to charge it every day. And if I forget to charge it even once, then everything is ruined. If it dies at night, I miss sleep tracking. If it dies during the day, then I just miss all my activity tracking. And for normal people, that's a huge deal. Cause not gonna lie, I'm pretty weird. I'm addicted enough to go out of my way to charge it every day. But I know most people are not gonna do that. And I've had this happen in real life to me as well. A few months ago, I was doing a really long hike through Yosemite when my Apple Watch completely died during it. So at the end of the day, after my long hike, I couldn't even flex the calories, steps, or distance. Which of course flexing is the most obvious part of why you do a hike, you know? Who cares about the hike itself? I just want to flex it, of course. And I know that may sound like a joke, which it kind of is, but seriously, that's the main reason why a lot of people wear these smartwatches. I mean, just look at the popularity of running in the past few years with apps like Strava, which is like a social media for running. People are able to flex their miles, their pace, and just be able to show off. And of course, the community as well. So most people want the data to show off, or at least get motivated to keep going. So I think for most people, battery life is not just a spec. It decides whether the tracker is there when you need it. And for some people, the battery life may be important than half of the features of the Apple Watch. But battery only matters if the tracking itself is even good enough. So the first thing I checked was the most basic metric: steps. This is probably the main thing that most normal people would care about. At first, I had a lot of doubts about the Fitbit Air because the Air for some reason was tracking my steps purely off of movement. Meaning, if you were just sitting down and doing random hand movements, it will still count as steps. And this does not happen at all with my Apple Watch. So I thought at the end of the day, the Fitbit Air was just gonna be completely off. But this is the first time the Fitbit Air surprised me. Because when you look at the graph, the two lines are basically moving together. Not perfectly, of course, but close enough that on most days, I don't think most people would even care about. Across the days I tested, the average difference was only 5%, and the median difference being 3%. So most of the time, they were telling the same basic story. My low activity days looked low on both, and my high activity days looked high on both. And then my marathon day was insane. After an entire marathon, my Apple Watch counted 54,400 steps, and Fitbit counted 55,582. That's only a 2% difference. So even on a day that most people would not be doing, like a marathon, the trackers basically said the same thing. So for step tracking, this is way closer than I expected. Not perfect and not scientifically proven, but for the thing most people check every day, the Fitbit Air held up really well. But steps are kind of the easiest thing for any tracker to get right. Calories, on the other hand, are a lot more complicated. And here, the calories were a little bit messier. Apple separates active calories and resting calories, while Fitbit reports total calories. So to make the comparison even, I combined both of the active and resting calories for Apple. And even then, Fitbit usually reported higher, sometimes by a little and sometimes by a lot. But this is also where I would be a little bit careful, because calories on wearables are already just an estimate. And in my data, Fitbit's distance tracking on runs was almost always overestimating, which could affect pace and calories burned. So I wouldn't look at either device and be like, this is exactly how much calories are burned. That's not how I would use this. But as a trend, the graph still made sense. Marathon day was the highest on both. Any running or tennis day was really high on both. Rest days were lower on both. So again, they had the same general story. But the exact number, I would take it with a grain of salt. But sleep is where I think it gets a little bit more interesting, because this is the feature that most normal people want to track every night, and only works if the battery is still alive. Sleep is probably the biggest reason why I would even care about battery, because if a tracker dies during the day, you would have to go to a charger and your day gets a little bit more annoying. But if it dies at night, well, what can you do? You're literally dead asleep. And with the Apple Watch, that is always in the back of my mind. I have to remember or go out of my way to charge it before bed, or charge it while showering, or find some random time of the day to give it extra juice. On the other hand, the Fitbit Air was just way less stressful because I could just wear it for days and charge it when convenient. And when I compared the actual sleep scores, the numbers were definitely not the same. Apple's scoring system was usually a lot nicer to me, while on the other hand, Fitbit's scoring system was way harsher. In my personal experience, I actually like Fitbit's score better because when my sleep was terrible, for whatever reason, Apple still gave me a pretty decent score. But on Fitbit, they were dead honest about the score. But even then, when you look at the graph, the trend was pretty similar. Good nights were higher on both, and bad nights were lower on both. They generally moved pretty similarly together. So I don't think the takeaway here is that both scores were better or worse than the other, or if the scores are the same. They're not. The takeaway is that for sleep trends, Fitbit gave me a very similar general read. Oh wait, there's another plane. Oh my, why is everyone flying today? Fitbit gave me a very similar general read, while also being way easier to keep on my wrist during the night. And for most people, that may be more important than having the most advanced sleep tracking. But sleep scores is just a simple version. The more interesting question is whether they even agreed on what was actually happening during the night. But I didn't want to compare the total amount of REM or deep sleep that occurred, because that kind of misses the point. What I wanted to know was, at the same moment in the night, did both devices think I was at the same sleep stage? So I matched both sleep timelines by time, and honestly, this was way more interesting than I expected. The overall exact sleep stage match was around 67%. Even though that's not perfect, it's also not random. And if you simplify it to just asleep versus awake, they agreed around 88% of the time, which is pretty good. REM was actually the closest. When Fitbit said I was in REM, Apple also said I was in REM 88% of the time. Light sleep, or Apple's core sleep, also lined up pretty well. But deep sleep was more mixed. And awake time was a big mess. When Fitbit said I was awake, Apple agreed only 9% of the time. It probably means that Fitbit is more aggressive about calling small movements or restless moments awake, while Apple is a little bit more conservative. So my main takeaway is, I would trust sleep stages as a rough pattern, and I would not obsess over the exact timing or minutes of my sleep. Is it still useful? Yes. But is it scientific? Definitely not. And this is where I started to realize that more data is not always more useful data, because I think app experience actually matters a lot. And honestly, this is one of the places where I think Fitbit is better for most people. When I opened the Fitbit app, it's just way easier to find the data that most people would care about. Steps, calories, distance, sleep, heart rate. It just felt like a very simple dashboard. On the other side of things, Apple Health is very powerful, but also feels way more overwhelming. There are so many different categories, so many metrics, and sometimes the data I want feels hidden 3 menus deep. And to be clear, that's not always a bad thing. If you're training for something, Apple seriously has some insanely powerful things. Running metrics, VO2 max, heart rate zones, physical effort, step length, walking steadiness, a bunch of stuff that Fitbit either doesn't show the same way or doesn't make as useful. On the other side of things, Apple Health is very powerful, but also feels way more overwhelming. Sometimes it just means more stuff to overthink. And that's the main difference, I think, the two types of people who should get these type of watches. Fitbit feels like it's trying to show you the main things, while Apple is trying to show you everything. And I get it. Oh wait, there's another plane. Oh my God. And I get it. Right now, most of you are probably on the checkout page for the Fitbit Air or selling your Apple Watch because I've been saying only good things about the Fitbit. But there are some things you need to keep in mind because there's a good reason why I'm still keeping my Apple Watch. Because screenless is not automatically better. Sure, it makes a Fitbit simpler and probably improves the battery life, but it also means that you basically need your phone for everything. Because this is where the Apple Watch still has a lot of value for normal people, as I can check my activity without needing my phone. You can also see your heart rate during a workout. I can start and stop workouts on my wrist, which is huge because I'm not gonna go out of my way to start a small pickleball session to grab my phone and start a workout. On the Apple Watch, it's already there on my screen, so I might as well just start it. And for me, I have a UV index tracker on my watch face, so I can quickly see if it's a good time to go outside, run, play tennis, and just avoid getting cooked in the sun. That kind of stuff may sound small, but it's the difference between a passive tracker and an actual smartwatch. So Fitbit being screenless makes it way less distracting and easier to live with. But Apple having a screen makes it more useful in the moment. And that becomes really obvious when you start working out. Oh my God. There's more planes. So for basic health tracking, the Fitbit was honestly doing way better than I expected. But workouts are where the story completely changes. This is where I think the Apple Watch starts to shine, or any smartwatch in general. And at first, Fitbit was actually pretty good. For basic workout duration and heart rate, it was surprisingly close. My marathon duration was basically the same, and the average heart rate was also the same on both. My strength training workout was almost identical on both as well. So if you only care about did I work out, how long was it, and roughly how hard was it, Fitbit did pretty well. But then I looked at specific metrics like distance. And this is where the Fitbit Air actually showed its limits. For a marathon, Apple tracked around 26.48 miles, which makes sense as I'm not running the identical path they tracked for the marathon. But Fitbit's distance came out to 32 miles. And that's not a small difference. That changes the pace and also lifts my ego because it made me look a lot faster. But of course, I knew I was not running at that pace. But also, it probably affects the calories estimated, which is really important for most people. The same thing happened for my shorter runs, just a little bit less dramatic. Fitbit was 15% higher on one run and 10% on another. So even though the heart rate and duration looked good, the distance side of things I would not trust at all. And to be fair, the Fitbit Air does not have the same standalone running watch features. It actually relies on your phone's GPS. And maybe that's why there was something really weird happening with the distance. But as a user, I don't really care if it was my phone or the Fitbit Air's fault. If I'm training for a marathon, I need the pace and distance to be correct. And this is where the Apple Watch clearly wins, because even if it was my iPhone 17's fault, I know at least I can rely on the GPS of my smartwatch, which the Fitbit Air completely lacks. And even bigger than that, as I said previously, you've got a screen. Even if somehow the Air was the best running tracker ever, I can't even use it to see my pace, heart rate, or anything that I would need for running, which is the whole point of even having one while working out. If you purely only use workouts as a way to get a more accurate reading for your calories, excluding the GPS, then I think they're the same, as the workout detection for walks and runs was actually pretty good on the Fitbit, so I didn't even need to start those on my Fitbit. But as soon as you use it as a way to train, then the Apple Watch is clearly leagues ahead. It's another plane. Give it a moment. After looking at all this, I think the difference is pretty clear. The Fitbit Air is a health tracker, while the Apple Watch is a smartwatch and a training tool. For normal person things, the Fitbit Air was a lot closer than I expected. Everything painted a pretty similar picture. Steps, sleep, calories burned, but just battery life was way better on the Air. So who should actually buy the Fitbit? If you're a normal person who cares about steps, sleep, heart rate, calories, and general activity, the Fitbit Air makes a lot more sense. Especially if you always forget to charge your watch, don't need apps, always have your phone on you, and just want something tracking in the background. But if you're a runner, athlete, or someone who actually trains, I would not replace your Apple Watch with this, or any smartwatch in general, like a Garmin, Coros, and all the serious trackers. The Fitbit Air just doesn't have enough metrics or accuracy that I would trust for running, and Apple is just way easier to start a workout with and actually train with. So for me, I'm still using an Apple Watch. But for a lot of normal people, especially the people I talked about at the beginning, the Fitbit Air is just the better purchase. Not because it's more powerful, it's not, but because it focuses on the part they actually need. Honestly, I was actually really close to selling my Apple Watch and getting a dedicated running watch and using the Fitbit Air as a dedicated health tracking watch. But I already look dumb enough wearing 2 watches. Can you imagine me wearing 3? Well, I mean, I did wear 3 for 2 weeks, so of course everybody did notice me wearing 3 watches on my wrists. But I don't know, Google really did something here because it honestly made me question why anybody would buy a Whoop or even a smartwatch. That's all I got. Peace.